All right, welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We turn our focus now to football. Round 6 in the UEFA Champions League ended early on Wednesday with an additional 9 matches. One of the most anticipated match was English champions Manchester City travelling to Turin to take on Italian giants Juventus. We have the highlights.
Conce's out. Says the referee, and that's what De Bruyne will do. And find Haaland. Brilliant save by De Gregorio. I think Haaland thought he'd done enough. In by Locatelli. Great effort there by Gatti. That was the centre-half. With an effort the centre-forward would be proud of. Ederson saves on the line. Now, was it a cross? Vlahovic thinks so. And it's confirmed, a goal for Juventus.
Certainly managed that in the best way possible. Gatti's effort, I thought it was Vlahovic at one stage, but they never clear it and make a real mess. Ruben Dias's attempted pass. And between two defenders, again, not the kind of goal you want to concede.
And here's Weston McKennie. Weah. Vlahovic in the middle. Weah looks for him, finds Lewis. There's McKennie!
On the break, didn't they use that ball well? Timothy Weah, McKennie getting him involved here, spreading the ball, substitute to substitute, and you think maybe it's fizzled out here, but Weah does ever so well to pick out McKennie.
It's huge. We're about to have a celebration akin to if they'd won the whole thing. It's a huge night for Juventus. It's a massive win for Thiago Motta against Pep Guardiola.
Juventus getting the better of Manchester City 2-0. Now, one of SportsMax's feature games saw Mikel Arteta's Arsenal welcoming AS Monaco to the Emirates Stadium. Here are the highlights.
Now trying to play their part. Well, is he in again this time? Gabriel Jesus, can he make this one count? Can he get there first? No. The dispossessing Norwegian whipped it out, and the huge friend nearly stole it then. Here's Gabriel Jesus. Saka must score. Saka does score. Almost inevitably involved, either a creator or a scorer, the latter this time. There's Lewis Skelly's work, a forward pass. And, Saka's certainly onside, and he was... Partey, no pressure on the cross, and it wasn't an easy chance for Martinelli. Here's Odegaard, Martinelli, past that post again. Oh, that's Salisu, that's a mistake, that's cost him the game. Saka's second. How often we see this these days, of course. It's part of the modern game, but that isn't. Havertz intercepted. Salisu can't have seen Havertz coming. And then Akena, free kick taken quickly, and that might have caught Monaco out. Is it going to drop for Saka? It's Marino. Saka can line up, and it's gone in, I think, of Kai Havertz. He's claiming it anyway. And the margin that really perhaps should have been at half-time is now. Trossard and Marino. Suggestion of offside. Certainly some appeals from Monaco. It might just have taken the last touch off Kera, but if he looks at his watch. Arsenal have done the job.
Arsenal with that dominant 3-0 win against AS Monaco. Well, joining us now is former Trinidad and Tobago international and SportsMax football analyst, Brent Sancho. Good afternoon, Brent. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Mariah. How are you?
I mean, I'm as good as I can be, right? Let's start to talk about the reason why I'm not in the best of moods. Manchester City, really disappointing performance from them today against a Juventus team that, of course, every time Juventus got the opportunity, capitalized on it.
Yeah, they certainly did, and it's a team now, Man City, that is really struggling to find their confidence, and I think that's the key word when you start to sum up and analyze what Manchester City is going through. They've always been a team that played at the highest level of, and whether it is their defending, their attacking, the way they go about games, their tactical astuteness, they've always been the best and simply the best at what they do. And when confidence is not on your side as a player, as a team, even at the managerial ranks, this is exactly what happens. Football is a game of fine margins. I'm sure we've always heard that terminology, and we're seeing how fine margins are in the sport, because what Man City is experiencing right now, I'm very sure no one in the world of sport, particularly in football, would have believed that this sort of situation would happen to Manchester City.
Yeah, what did Juventus do right today, apart from capitalizing on those chances, Brent?
I think they were good defensively. I think they were very solid defensively. They repelled Manchester City's attack and their ball dominance. And they were patient in the way that they did things. Of course, both goals coming in transition, and they were good value for it, Juventus. And most importantly, they were ruthless in front of goal. They had the capacity to make sure that when they did get that odd one or two chance, they were able to do it. And you hear so many times when teams play against the likes of Manchester City or Barcelona, ball-dominant teams, that you have to be able to suffer out of possession. And Juventus seemed very comfortable in doing that. So give them credit. And this is not a Juventus team that has come into this game riding high on confidence and riding high on good stature. They have struggled themselves, of course, pulling out a draw from a defeat against Bologna in the weekend, scoring in the very last stages of the game. So they've had their struggles, and a lot of it is down to, of course, the new manager coming in and a new way that Morta wants to play. But so certainly it was a game that Manchester City coming into could have believed they could have found some favour. But again, credit to Juventus in the way and they endured their dogged performance.
Yeah, Jack Grealish picked up a yellow card. Kevin De Bruyne looked a shadow of himself. When I think about Erling Haaland, I'm wondering, what he was really doing today. A lot of the City players, Brent, and I see you laughing at me, a lot of the City players really, didn't look like themselves. I thought it was another team.
Yeah, no, look, that happens in football. And Mariah, it's strange because normally Manchester City has one or two players that are unplayable at any given Sunday, at any time, anywhere you play them. And sometimes when the rest of the team are having a bad game, those two players are world-class quality and they can win you a football game. It's very rare, or never, I've never seen it, that a Manchester City team have had 1 through 11 going through the sort of torrid performance that we've seen from Manchester City. And as you well know, it's not just this Juventus game, but it has been going on for quite some time. And that's the reason why they're in this run. There's so many world-class players within that squad that is just not having a good time. They're not playing with confidence. They're not playing with the sort of bravado and swagger that we're used to seeing from a Manchester City game. And that tells you the types of tactical deployment that Pep Guardiola normally has with his teams. They're teams that, of course, play with a high degree of difficulty, a high degree of confidence, and a high degree of understanding that they have very small margins when it comes to the sport. And because all of that is not happening for them, because the players individually, because if you look at the goals that they concede, a lot of them are individual mistakes, and today was no different, are really struggling from that capacity. And when you're conceding and shipping goals in, it's very hard to get things started on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, I want to get a comment from you quickly, Brent, on the McKennie strike, the American with a wonderful volley there. But before we do that, we know that you're a Juventus fan and you have admired their football for a long time, although admittedly they haven't been the force of yesteryear. But they do have a solid recent record against Manchester City. They have stretched with today's result their unbeaten record against Man City to 6 games in a row, which suggests, or 5 games at least in a row, which suggests that even on Man City's better days, they have had problems beating this Juventus team.
Yeah, and if you are a Juventus player sitting in Turin coming into this game, Lance, you'd be thinking this is the best time to play Manchester City. So I'm very sure confidence would have been high going into the game, despite the fact that they've had a difficult start to the season. A difficult start, you have to put things in context compared to what the expectations would have been for Juventus this season and the way they started. That being said, and going to the Mackenzie strike, coming off the bench, just coming back from injury, was a perfect antidote to what they were just going through, because Manchester City started to turn the screw a bit on them and started to press for the goal. So it came at a perfect time, and of course it was supplied by his compatriot Weir, who also came off the bench. So from a Juventus point of view, with players coming back from injury, a well-timed goal from Weston McKennie, and all 3 points against a team that they have had good joy against, is all in the positive side, all pointing in the right directions, all showing that the possibility of really kick-starting their campaign could be coming right around the corner for Juventus.
Yeah, City just 1 win in their last 10 matches now in all competitions, Brent, and in a spot of bother, 22nd in the UEFA Champions League table at the moment, which isn't a good position in the new format, and puts their position as far as advancing in the tournament in jeopardy.
You know what's funny, Lance? Every time you turn the TV on to see Manchester City, you think, all right, this is the game where they're going to turn things around and then go on this long run of winning maybe 20-something on games in a row. That's what you expect to see. But when you have the problems that they have, and it's not a tactical one, and I've seen a lot of conversation, or maybe Pep needs to look at playing a different way. It is not that. It is all down to the individual confidence of the players. It's just not there. And with a team that has won so many titles, and to win titles in football, you have to have strong belief, strong amount of belief in what you're doing. You're just seeing them capitulate so easily. It's amazing for me to see. And I was a bit surprised today, and obviously the game against Palace on the weekend, how fragile their confidence is. And I'm putting that up against the background of a team that has won. So to win on so many times and win so many trophies, you have to have a high level of belief, meaning that if you make a mistake, you believe you can get back from it. But Manchester City just don't seem to have those sorts of capabilities anymore.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the people who have not really respected Rodri's contribution, not only for Man City, but as a quality midfielder, may now be recognizing that his absence from the Man City team is probably a huge part of why they're slumping.
Yeah, it is, and he was ever present, and I think more so for his consistency in performance. That is what you're not seeing at the Manchester City now. Whether you talk about Kevin De Bruyne or you go back to the back of Guardiola and Diaz, that is not the sort of appearances and, of course, performances that you're normally used to seeing from Manchester City. Rodri is, of course, epitomizes consistency, and a consistency played at a very, very high level. That's not what we're seeing. You can go through, Lance, that Manchester City team 1 through 11 over the past 9 games that they've struggled, and very, very few of them would get a passing grade. Yeah. That is not something we normally attribute to Manchester City. So it's going to be tough to turn it around. Yeah,
that's for sure. And we just had a quick look there at the McKennie goal, Brent, and we have to remember too that it was he who delivered the pass out wide, a really, really good pass, and that finish was sublime.
Yeah, it was sublime, and when you look at the fact that, again, just coming off the bench and an injury, that first initial pass was an excellent pass. We had tried to do the right thing and put it across, but this really delightful cross by Weir, met by McKennie, gave him a lot of time because it was a flighted cross. So give McKennie a lot of time to make sure that he was able to set himself to get good contact on the football. And I think once he got the contact, it went in the back of the net. But Lance, I just want to point at the defending. If you go back to that goal, look at Guardiola, look at his positioning, an individual mistake defensively. Once this pass is made, instead of Guardiola staying with McKennie, looks inside, he knows there's a player coming, he drifts all the way across to the first post, number 24, forgets his mark, and then tries to dart back in the block it. So really, if he was doing what he's supposed to do, and we are used to him doing, Guardiola is, he would have been on spot to be able to defend McKennie. But those are the sorts of goals that Manchester City have been giving away, that we normally have not seen from them, that sort of lack of paying attention to detail, and it's really been the downfall for them.
Yeah, well, the team that today, showed a lot of attention to detail would be Arsenal against AS Monaco. 3 goals, 3 points, and that man, Bukayo Saka, he continues to shine tonight. Of course, 2 goals, Brent, 1 assist to start the show.
Yeah, certainly the star of the show, certainly a performer for Arsenal that has done really well over the course of seasons that he's played for them. One of their most important players, Saka, that is. And an Arsenal team, I must say, that haven't really obliterated teams, haven't really dominated teams throughout the season, but they have found ways to win. There was a lot of conversation, of course, about their set pieces and winning games by that margin. But what they have done is grafted, they've worked hard, they've done the other side of the game that teams of that ilk sometimes struggle to do. And you've seen them so many times pressure teams high up the park and win the football. That is because this is a team that is grafted and working very hard for their trade. Even if things are not going at its best from an offensive level and a possession-based and execution level in the final third, they're still able to do the right things on the other side of the football to get results. So if they are to get the other side, which is a normal side of playing football and doing well and executing in the final third correct, then they become that dominant team going into January and December month.
Yeah, and one of the things about Arsenal when it comes to the Champions League is they're currently 3rd when we look at the new table, of course. We're looking ahead to January. They have Dinamo Zagreb and Girona. So as far as Champions League football is concerned, in the new format, Brent, they look pretty safe, huh?
Yeah, they look pretty safe, and I'm sure Mikel Arteta would congratulate the team on what they've been able to do so far. But of course, that is a team that would know that the real business comes in the knockout phases, and if they can keep that level, and I think that's been the problem with Arsenal for quite many years. When it matters, can they be there when it matters? Can they be there when they need points in the EPL to lift the trophy? And similarly in the Champions League, can they win those big games in the Champions League? Can they get those sorts of results that would see them get into quarterfinals and semi-finals and all the way to the finals? I think that's the question mark. That's something that most of us neutrals would look at an Arsenal and shake our head, because history would tell us they've failed so many times. You just wish for them that this could possibly be the season where they can cross the line.
Yeah, and Brent, earlier today, other matchups, exciting ones. AC Milan, they beat Red Star Belgrade. Did you get a chance to watch that one as well? I know you were monitoring a lot of the matches for us, but that one for AC Milan?
Yeah, I had the multi-screen system going and all of that, so just trying to keep a piece of it. Look, I've been really impressed with the Italian clubs in this format of the Champions League and what they've been able to do. Of course, Inter Milan being part of that, and Atalanta, although they went down to Real Madrid yesterday, they have been able to do. And AC Milan have seemed to have a bit of a rebirth in what they're doing this season. And again, a team that similar to the conversation that we've had about Arsenal, maybe not more as a detailed one, but it's really going to come down for the likes of AC Milan and how they operate in the knockout stages. What we've seen from them so far has been good, but when you get to that side of the game, when it's as I say, the business end of football, are they able to execute? I'm still not sure, and I'm still not sold.
Yeah, Barcelona as well, fighting, holding on for their life, but they got all the points necessary today.
Look, it's been a lot of conversation about Hansi Flick and a high-line system and of course the positives and negatives that comes with it. And I think what viewers need to recognize, that teams that are successful play high-risk football. That is what you do, because there's high rewards for high-risk football. And when it goes well, it goes exceedingly well. But when it doesn't go well, you have a Manchester City situation. So I think at the end of the day, Barcelona and what they made, we've seen them stutter a bit, because teams recognize now with that high-line system, there is opportunities to be had, and we've seen that today in the seesaw battle that they had this afternoon against Dortmund. And you just wonder, Mariah, when you get into the knockout stages, really and truly, that is where those sorts of fine lines and fine margins really come to haunt you. Because yes, high-risk football has high rewards, but also if you have 2 poor games with high risk, then you have a problem and you be out the competition.
Yeah, well, Brent, as always, thank you so much for your input in today's discussion. We look forward to talking to you again really soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Well, let's take now a look at the full results from today's matches. All right, so what do we have here? Of course, that 2-0 loss for Manchester City against Juventus. Arsenal picking up that 3-0 win against AS Monaco. Atletico Madrid 3-1 winners over Slovan Bratislava. 3-2 for Lille versus Sturm Graz. What about that 2-1 win for AC Milan versus Cervena Zvezda? No goals in that draw between Benfica and Bologna. Barcelona 3-2 versus Dortmund. A 4-2 win for Feyenoord versus Sparta Prague. And 5 goals for Stuttgart versus that 1 goal against Young Boys. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. Remember, the Champions League lives on your home of champions. If you have not downloaded the SportsMax app just yet, you should do so now. Break time.